everybody. This is Morgan here with Positive Approach to Math. We are moving right along in our functions topic with Lesson 3, Domain and Range. Another important concept that you are going to see throughout your math journey, whether it's in Algebra 1 or a class beyond. We will utilize a little bit of what we've done in Lesson 1 and 2 to help us with this. So I'm going to get started right away. Just a reminder, anything you might need if you would like a PDF of this note packet so you can follow right along, whether on a tablet or printing out, is found in the details below, and any videos following this with the U try is linked there, as well as an answer key. So let's get started with domain and range. I'm super excited to get through this lesson with all of you. So just a friendly reminder that everything that's a relation consists of input and output. We like to say that the input often is the x and the output is the y. And what we're doing is we're saying that a relation maps that input to our particular output, okay? So now we're just going to give a mathematical definition or term, a mathematical term to our input, and we're going to call it the domain of the relation. So whenever you hear the domain, it is the input, right? It's what you're putting into the machine. So for a washer, the domain, the input is dirty clothes, dirty towels, dirty sheets, right? And then your output, what you get back after it goes through that function, is clean, wet clothes. So we call the output our result of that input into that machine. Our output is the range. And so we want to remember that domain is always, always, always x. It's our input. And range is always, 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 always y. And today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about stating the domain and range. And when we state our domain, our set of inputs for our relation, and our set of outputs for our relation, we're going to make sure we have two rules, that we put them in order from least to greatest. So for your domain, you're going to list all of your x values in order from least to greatest. For your range, you're going to list all of your y values in order from least to greatest. And you're also going to list no repeats. So if you see a domain value, an x value pop up more than once, we don't need to account for it more than once. We can just say, okay, we've got two. We're using it once. We know it could be used more than once. Okay? So those are your two rules. You always put your domain and range in order from least to greatest, and you never list repeats. So let's look at our first example here. And all we have is we kind of just have four problems. I'm showing you how we would take the domain and range if we're given an ordered pair, the four ways of representing a relation, whether it's an ordered pair, a table, a mapping diagram, or a graph. Okay. So for letter A, our domain. Our domain is the set of inputs, our x values. So in yellow, I'm going to put all of our inputs, okay? So we have 2, -5, 3, and 0. So I'm going to list them in order from least to greatest. So -5 will go first. As always, you know me, I like to cross things off, so I make sure I count for everything and leave nothing out. Then we will have 0, 2, and 3. None of those are repeats, so we don't have to worry about that, and we put them in order from least to greatest. Now when we go to talk about our range, we're going to look at the y values. So they're separate, and like I said, just like when we were listing mapping diagrams and tables, well, more specifically mapping diagrams, yes, I know I saw a 3 in the domain, and now I see a 3 in the range. They're separate. I'm not saying, oh, I counted it in the domain. Don't count it in the range. No, no, no. They're separate. That's the output category. So, yeah, we see it. We're going to put it. But now we're just looking at those blue numbers. So you can pretend those yellow ones aren't even there. So looking at those blue numbers, the smallest we see is -4. Next, we see 1. 3, and 7. And so in this case, we had no repeats either. So we put all of our range in order from least to greatest, and we didn't have to worry about repeats. Cool. And that's all we're doing, okay? So dropping down to letter B, we have a table. So making sure you can identify the table there. This makes it really easy for you. Your X's are right in a vertical line, and your Y's are right in a vertical line. So, and remember, I give you your tables with the X's already in order from least to greatest, but they do have the repeats, so we need to make sure we're not accounting for them. So our domain here, we see we have -3, -3. We don't need to jot it down twice, so we're just going to write -3, check, check, and then we have 4 and 7. Check, check. Okay. Now our range is not necessarily in order from least to greatest, so we want to make sure we're putting them in order from least to greatest. So our smallest value here is -3. We then have 0, 2, and 4. So I put those in order from least to greatest. They didn't have a repeat. So notice in my domain there are 3 values and my range is 4. That's okay. They don't have to be balanced because we're not including repeats. Okay? All right. Let's move to letter C. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. All right. Letter C has our domain, our input, which goes with our domain, that's our X, and our output, that's our Y. And here, when we have mapping diagrams, it's the easiest time to write your domain and range. And the reason is, remember, recall for a mapping diagram, our rules were to put the input in order from least to greatest, put the output in order from least to greatest, and list no repeats for both. So this is already in order from least to greatest for both, and already took out our repeats. So our domain here, we're just going down, -5, -3, 3, and 5. Okay, and for our range, same thing. Already in order from least to greatest, already took out our repeats for us. So we're just going down that line, 0, 2, and 4. Okay? So that's all we have to do for the mapping diagram. So that's probably when you're asked to find the domain and range and you get a mapping diagram, you're like, score, I got it. This one's easy peasy. You don't have any thinking to do there. Okay? The one that's a little bit hard is what I saved for last, this graph. So I'm going to scroll down and I'll scroll up a little bit and I will scroll in. I'll do all the scrolling. So here you have more than one way you can go about it. I know I talked in lesson 2 about writing everything as ordered pairs. And in fact, that's what I'm going to do for this problem. I'm going to take all of these points and identify them as ordered pairs first. So I'm going to make a set. I'm going to say, okay, this first point is traveling left 5 up 3. So it's -5, +3. This next point is traveling right or left 0, but up 5. So that will be 0, 5. Next, I have a point traveling right 1, up 1. Next, we have right 1, down 3. So that's going to be 1, -3. And last but not least, we have this point out in right field up there. It is right 8, up 7. So we have 8, comma 7. Now the good news here is if you worked from left to right, hopefully the majority of your x's are in order from least to greatest. So I'm looking for my domain at my x values, okay? I'm going to put them in order from least to greatest. No repeats. So -5, yes, is the smallest. Then I have 0. I have 2 1s there. I only need to put the 1 once. And then I have 8. I don't need to put the 1 more than 1 time. Okay. Now for my range, I'm not necessarily looking at my ordered pairs going to have them in order from least to greatest. So I'm going to skim my range, my y values, and look to see which one's the smallest, and I see -3. I then see +1, +3, +5, and last but not least, +7. So that will be my range. If you want to try to work quickly without having to write them down as ordered pairs, what you could be doing, I'm going to put this in orange here, is you're going to say, okay, let's look on my x-axis. So I'm going to shimmy along this x-axis here, right? Let's look at the first dot happens at -5. The next dot happens at 0. The next dot happens at 1. And the last dot, or ordered pair, happens at 8. So I'm skimming my x-axis from left to right, looking for where I see points plotted. I then would do the same thing for my y-axis. I would start down. I'd say, okay, where do I see my first point plotted on the y? Oh, I need a different color. -3. I then see a point plotted at 1. I then see a point plotted at +3, +5, and +7. So that's how you can do it if you don't want to write them down as ordered pairs. But if you know anything about me, I would rather take the longer route that would assure me the correct answer than kind of leave it in a chance of missing something. So I'd rather just write down all the ordered pairs and then say, okay, let me get the x's, put them in order from least to greatest, no repeats. Let me get the y's, put them in order from least to greatest. But just to show you an alternative. Okay, so that is our domain and range. Some helpful hints I have for you are, remember, domain is our input. It is our x values. Our range is our output. It is our y values. Think of your domain as what you're putting into your washing machine, the dirty clothes. Think of your range as what you get out of your washing machine, the clean, wet, damp clothes, okay? When you're asked to put a domain and range in order or to identify it from a relation, you want to put it in order from least to greatest for your domain. Then you do the same thing for your range, and you don't want to list any repeats in your domain and any repeats that you see in your y values. That is all for domain and range, looking at it from one of our 4 ways of a relation. If you want some practice, you will see the you try here. I gave you one of every relation. So you have an ordered pair, state the domain and range, a table, a mapping diagram, and a graph. Give it a try on your own. Remember, if you need help, I have a video in the details, and I have an answer key if you do try it on your own and you want to check your work. Great job with lesson 3, domain and range. I can't wait to continue our functions topic and to see you all soon. Keep up the great work.